Sir, this is not a place to— Look for shelter, said one of the salesmen, his voice cold though trying to stay polite. Elliot gave a small smile. I'm not seeking shelter. I want to look at the cars. The receptionist raised an eyebrow. For what? The cars here are very expensive, you know. Another salesman, a man in his 30s with a striking red tie, stepped closer while brushing his suit as if avoiding dust from Elliot. Sir, the cheapest car here costs more than your entire life. What happened after this truly changed everything. The morning air in Seattle was still damp from last night's rain as a thin, elderly man walked slowly along the sidewalk. His name was Elliot Graves. His jacket was torn at the elbows. His shoes were mismatched and his hair was messy, as if it hadn't seen a comb in weeks. In his right hand, he pushed a rusty supermarket cart filled with plastic bottles and empty cans. People passing by lowered their gaze, some moving aside to avoid getting too close. Elliot was used to it. Ever since he chose to live away from the crowd, many saw him as nothing more than a homeless scavenger. That morning, Elliot stopped in front of a large glass building with a striking sign. Raven Motors, luxury sports car showroom. Bright white lights reflected off rows of sports cars in metallic red and obsidian black, each one looking like a piece of art. He stared at them for a long moment, not because he wanted praise, nor because he wanted to be seen as wealthy, but because there was something he had planned for a long time. With a long, steady breath, Elliot pushed the glass door open. The moment he stepped inside, the entire room fell silent. A young female receptionist behind the front desk glanced at him from head to toe. Her smile faded. Meanwhile, two salesmen, who had been chatting immediately, stopped and exchanged confused looks.
Sir, this isn't a place for—
Seeking shelter, one of the salesmen said, his voice cold though still pretending to be polite. Elliot gave a small smile. I'm not seeking shelter. I want to look at the cars. The receptionist lifted an eyebrow. For what? The cars here are very expensive, you know. Another salesman, a man in his 30s with a bright red tie, walked closer while brushing his suit, as if making sure no dust from Elliot touched it. Sir, the cheapest car here costs more than your entire life. His condescending tone was so clear that other customers in the room looked at Elliot with a mix of pity and disgust, but Elliot remained calm. It's fine, he replied softly. I just want to look around. Maybe I want to buy one. The salesman snorted loudly, almost laughing. You, buying a Lamborghini Aventador? You can't even buy a new shirt. Some people in the room smirked mockingly. Elliot sighed and looked at the black car in the center of the showroom. He walked slowly toward it, but was immediately stopped by a salesman's hand blocking his chest. I'm going to ask you to leave now before I call security. This store is not for you. Silence. The stares from everyone pierced him like needles. Elliot lowered his head for a moment, not out of fear, but because of a sadness he had carried for a long time. How easy it was for people to judge based only on worn-out clothes, without knowing what he truly had. Then he lifted his face. His eyes sharpened. All right, he said calmly. In that case, call your general manager. Tell him that someone named Elliot Graves wants to buy 3 cars at once. He will know who I am. The salesman fell silent. The receptionist froze. For the first time, the whole room felt as if it was holding its breath. That name, they had heard it before. Very famous. But it couldn't be. Not this shabby-looking man. And at that moment, the office door in the back slowly creaked open. A man in a dark blue suit stepped out of the office. His hair was neatly styled, his expression firm yet warm. It was Graham Alden, the general manager of Raven Motors. The moment he heard the receptionist nervously mention the name Elliot Graves, Graham froze. His breath caught. He stared at the man in the torn jacket, eyes wide. Elliot Graves? He repeated, needing to be sure. Elliot gave a small nod. Graham immediately approached, ignoring the confused looks from the sales staff. His expression shifted, from doubt to shock and then to respect.
My God, Elliot?
Is that really you? His voice was almost trembling. The salesman who had insulted him earlier swallowed hard. The room fell silent again. Graham leaned in slightly, as if confirming once more. I used to work in your investment division 5 years ago. Everyone knew you disappeared after selling your company. No one knew where you went. Elliot gave a faint smile. I just needed some peace, Graham. The salesman with the red tie was stunned. Wait, he's really that billionaire, Elliot Graves, founder of Graves Capital? Graham shot him a sharp look. Yes, He's the founder of one of the most successful investment firms on the West Coast. And you, he let out a frustrated breath. You tried to throw him out. The salesman turned pale, completely speechless. Graham then turned back to Elliot, his voice soft. Forgive my staff. They didn't know. Elliot shook his head gently. It's all right. They only did what the world teaches, judge people by appearance. He walked toward the black sports car he had been staring at. His hand touched the hood, and he smiled like someone finally reconnecting with an old memory. This car, it's like the one I once promised myself, he murmured. Graham nodded slowly. If you still want to buy. I want 3, Elliot cut in calmly. This black one, the red one over there, and 1 GT model for charity. The salesman's mouth dropped open. The receptionist nearly dropped her tablet. Elliot looked at Graham. But on one condition, anything. The cars must be handled by your team, not those 2 salesmen. He looked at them, not with anger, but with sympathy. And please, teach them that people don't always look like what they truly have. The salesmen lowered their heads deeply, their faces flushed with shame. Graham agreed immediately. Of course. I'll make sure of it. After all the paperwork was done, Elliot walked out to the sidewalk. His rusty cart was still there, waiting in the quietness of Seattle. He held the new car keys in his hand, yet showed none of the excitement of a billionaire. Instead, he looked at the cart with eyes full of stories. A passing janitor asked softly, Sir, did you really buy those cars? Elliot smiled warmly. Money is just a tool, but the way people treat us, that's what shows who they really are. And he walked away, not hurried, not proud, just a man who chose to live simply, even though the world knew he could have everything.